What's going on, everyone? Today is a big day because we have two things to unbox. We may only do one of them per video though, but it's still gonna be awesome. We've got the Evo 2 from Autel Robotics. Now, the interesting thing with the Evo 2 is that it does have a smaller sensor than its big brother, which we happen to have the Evo 2 Pro. So yeah, we got a lot going on here, and let's do it. It's an 8K camera, shoots 48 megapixel images, has up to a 40-minute runtime, and I'm a huge drone person, so to see someone trying to really compete with DJI, that's impressive to me. Now, Autel, some of the stuff they made in the past was really, it was a little finicky, it was a little hit and miss, but now it seems like they really have upped their game. Now, the Evo 2 Pro shoots 6K, the Evo 2 shoots 8K. Price difference between the two is around $300. The Evo 2 is right around $1,400, Evo 2 Pro is right around $1,700–1,800. So there's a price difference there. However, what you're getting between the two is 8K 48 megapixel imagery, 6K 20 megapixel imagery, smaller sensor, 1-inch sensor. So the 1-inch sensor is going to be closer towards, your Mavic 2 Pro and a lot of the other previous drones that DJI came out with. The larger the sensor, the better low light you're going to get. So I'm guessing between these two, the Evo 2 Pro is definitely going to be better in your lower light conditions. However, most of the time you're not allowed to fly at night, so that might not be an issue for many of us. Autel is also really trying to be a straight-on competitor for DJI, so they are really giving DJI a run for their money right now. The other cool thing about both these devices is the fact they also have built-in zooms, all right? Which, as we all know, anyone who's flown a drone, you either have the Mavic 2 Zoom or the Mavic 2 Pro. The Mavic 2 Pro does not zoom, the Mavic 2 Zoom does, but there's a huge difference in image quality between those two. These are kind of like those as far as image quality, except you're getting the reverse. You're getting less pixels and less resolution for a larger sensor here, and more pixels and more resolution for a smaller sensor on this side. Plus, you get a 4x zoom with the Evo 2 and a 3x zoom with the Evo 2 Pro with the larger sensor. Yeah, I'm not sure why. As well, both devices offer up to a 9-kilometer image transmission. Of course, that's depending on how clear the day is and where you're flying it at and all that stuff. Of course, if you're flying in the city, that's going to be cut down quite a bit because of radio signals and all that. If you're flying out in the country, you've got a lot more range that you can go out to. As well, they both have omnidirectional avoidance systems, so they have 12 visual sensors built around the device to avoid it flying into anything. So they're on the top, the side, the bottom, as well as both of them can fly up to 45 miles per hour. They can fly in supposedly up to 39 mile/hour winds, as well as both of them will shoot 4K 10-bit HDR, as well, both will shoot 4K at 60 frames per second. Which the Mavic 2 Pro cannot do, unfortunately. Mavic 2 Pro can only do 4K up to 30, 2.7K up to 60 frames per second. Huge disappointment. Again, I'm not bashing DJI. I love DJI, the products that they have made. I'm a huge DJI fan, but I love seeing up-and-comers. I love seeing ones that give larger companies a run for their money. And that's what Autel is doing right now. Jumping back to the zoom, both will do 8x zoom, but 3x lossless, 4x lossless. So without having to affect any of the detail. So again, there is a lot going on with these two packages and around the same price point as the Mavic 2 Pro. That is a huge thing to take notice of. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a couple different videos, but today we are only going to open this one, all right? The Evo 2. Following, we will make another video in which we will open the Evo 2 Pro. And then we'll make two different videos showing the comparison of these two guys side by side, and hopefully as well, also we'll throw a Mavic 2 in the mix. Why not? All right, so let's go ahead and open this puppy up. There she is. Wow. So size comparison, it's a bit thicker than the Mavic 2 Pro. It's pretty cool though that it came with the propellers already installed. Man, this thing is woo-wee. Let's throw him back in here. All right, so we have the controller here. Oh, wow. This is a solid built unit. Oh, those are just handles. So that is just your handle. That's pretty sweet. Not gonna lie, I'm already liking it. So there's your record, your photo, just like the Mavic 2. You got your adjustments, camera tilt control is here. Display, I'm guessing this is probably for shutter or what other adjustments you might want to make. That is sweet. All right, then we've got the charger in here. Connection charger, power cable. Seems bigger in size than the Mavic 2 Pro. Not sure how I feel about the orange color on it though. Kind of like the silver or the gray of the Mavic 2. Kind of be nice if it was just black. There she is. All right, so the battery is plugged into here, which is pretty sweet. I kind of like that aspect instead of the top. You know, one of the issues I've run into with the Mavic 2 Pro is that after a little while, if the Mavic 2 battery expands slightly, it puts pressure on the hinges and the battery can actually pop off. So I've actually had that happen where the battery, it was up in the air, and out here in Texas, it gets warm. So it was up in the air. It started giving me a little bit of warning signs, so I was springing it back down to land. And as I was landing, it started going sideways. After almost hitting a curb, it finally landed. I noticed that one of the sides of the battery had actually pushed upward. So it was actually in flight and the battery was partly removed. So that is a huge concern for me. Now with this design, I like this much better by the fact that it's in the back end of the unit. So it clips into place. There's less issues of it just flying outward or flying off. So the battery that they use is 7100 milliamp compared to the Mavic 2 Pro battery, which is 3850. So this is twice the size of a Mavic 2 Pro battery. Twice the size and capacity. That is insane. So we've got the gimbal clip there. We've got the lens or the camera. Now the Evo 2 Pro or the Evo 2 has a 1.8 f-stop at the minimum. The Evo 2 Pro is 2.8, so that's another thing to keep in mind too. This can get much lower on the f-stop compared to the Evo 2 Pro, its big brother. Now I have to say this thing is pretty sweet. Now these, yeah, they are like the Mavic, where they are hot swappable. So if you crash and you break your propellers, I mean, that never happens, but if you crash and you break your propellers, these will swap out and boom. These actually feel quite a bit sturdier than the Mavic 2 ones. Let's turn her on. So we've got the USB-C port here, memory card slot here. It does take micro SD, just like the Mavic. I have to say, this thing looks pretty stinking sweet. Oh wow, that was an instant stop. Look. All right, so start point. Instant stop. All right, so there you have it, the Evo 2. I am very, very excited to put this up in the air, so I am definitely going to be doing a comparison between this and the Mavic 2 Pro, and side by side see how they compare with each other. The other thing we'll be doing is opening up the Evo 2 Pro box, and then also doing a comparison with the Evo 2 and the Evo 2 Pro and the Mavic 2 Pro, and see how they all compare against each other. So I hope you are just as excited as I am. If you use the Autel Robotics drones with the Evo 2 or the Evo 2 Pro or even the Evo 2 Dual, be sure to make a comment below. Let me know your thoughts on it. Also, if you have any questions about how each of the drones perform, or any other drone questions, please post them in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, check out our next videos, and until next time, we'll catch y'all later.